Hello, everybody. My name is Cale Eden for CFD 306 at Missouri State University. Today, we're going to be talking about the cultural perspectives on death. We're going to be talking about Hispanic culture, but more specifically, we're going to be talking about Mexican Hispanic culture. I chose to speak on that largely because my wife and her family, they're Hispanic Mexican descent. My wife is first generation Mexican American. Her parents immigrated over here in the late 70s. So I wanted to kind of dive into that a little bit and, of course, educate myself more on that. Um, Forgive me for coughing every now and then. My family, we're actually fighting the flu right now. So let's just jump into it. Okay. All right. On this first slide, just kind of a few highlights that we're going to be talking about for this assignment is the attitudes towards death within the culture, the beliefs and understandings surrounding death, religions, and we're going to talk about customs and rituals. One of the big celebrations surrounding death, actually, that many are aware of, is the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. We're going to kind of talk a little bit about it. What is it? How is it celebrated? And kind of cap everything off with Hispanic culture in the media today, because I have something specifically in mind that ties in really well with this video and assignment. All right, let's jump into it with attitudes towards death. I put a little quote here. It says, "To live in hearts we leave behind is not to die," by Thomas Campbell. And I really felt like that encapsulates just kind of the ideas of the Hispanic culture towards the death and the dying process. To the Hispanic culture, death is just a very natural part of life. It's just a transition from this plane of existence to the next. But they don't really believe that our loved ones are leaving us forever. It's just a very natural transition. It's something that we all go through. And with heavily rooted influence from the Catholic Church, they of course believe that there's an afterlife that we'll all be together again. Grieving within the community, grieving within the families in Hispanic culture is more of a communal event. They'll get together, large gatherings of the people who knew the specific loved one who passed away, and sometimes even those who don't necessarily know the person will as well come to be part of just this celebration of life for the one who is deceased. Let's move on to the next. Excuse me, the next slide. Beliefs and understanding about death and the afterlife. So they are, like I said, heavily influenced by Catholic teachings. There's a long history there with the Catholic Church, which we'll talk about in a slide coming up. So they do believe in an afterlife. They believe that, when we pass from this plane of existence, that we'll either go to heaven or hell, depending on how we lived our lives and how well we've adhered to the Catholic teachings. Or we'll go to purgatory, which is more of a cleansing process for your soul before you go to heaven. They do believe in saints and spirits. I know many Hispanic families have a patron saint that they will pray to. For instance, my in-laws, their patron saint is Jude, which is the patron saint of hope. And they will do a rosary every year, praying to Saint Jude, just thanking him for interceding on their behalf. They believe that, he can intercede between them and God the Father. And that the saints are there to help and just kind of guide us through life. They also believe that like spirits of deceased loved ones are there to intercede on our behalf, that even though they've passed to the next step in our existence, that they're still able to be here for us and guide us through our lives. And finally, superstitions and omens. I know specifically a lot of Hispanics from this area, and of course Mexico, believe that the seeing of certain animals, like we, see a black cat run across the road and we're like, oh, that's a bad omen. Well, for them, they see things like an owl or a dog howling in the night, and to them that can be an omen saying that the spirits are trying to communicate to them of some impending bad situation or even possibly a death. So religion. So Mexico, like I said, they have a long history with the Catholic Church. Actually, the Spanish colonizers in the 16th century brought Catholicism to Mexico, and it largely became and just incredibly quickly became the largest religion within Mexico. I put down there that 70% or 77% of Hispanics actually claim Catholicism as their main religion. And that's not just Hispanics within Mexico, that's Hispanics worldwide claiming Catholicism as their main religion. And due to that, many Mexican traditions and holidays are catered around the Catholic beliefs. So I put a few here: the Dia de la Virgen de Guadalupe, Our Lady of Guadalupe Day, and Semana Santa, the Holy Week, both come from Catholic beliefs. And finally, the churches and cathedrals. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Mexico. I put a few churches down here. Please look them up. Beautiful, beautiful landmarks, beautiful churches, just to honor the God and honor the saints and the Catholic culture that they believe in. Right. So customs and rituals. Um, Within the culture, they believe in certain customs before and after death. Firstly, the sacrament of the anointing of the sick. So many Catholics do believe that, as a loved one is in the process of dying, they'll bring in a priest, they'll anoint that body, just as a kind of like preparing them for death and preparing them for the passing between planes. And that goes for the Hispanic culture as well. They'll have large gatherings. Their family will come in, kind of share memories, pray for that loved one, say their goodbyes. And then, of course, after death, as with many of the Catholics, there will be a wake, or in the Hispanic culture, the velerio. Um, Gonna butcher that again because I cannot roll my R's. But it's a wake. It usually lasts overnight, or of course, during the day if the loved one has passed away earlier in the day. And what it is, it's really just a time of mourning. It's a time of praying, remembering that loved one, kind of tying into the concept of purgatory. They believe that their good energy, their will, their prayers kind of help their loved one's soul through that purification process. And of course, after all of that, they do the funeral mass and the burial, which is just kind of a church service, remembering that loved one, praying for them once again. Just praying for their soul and that transition from purgatory into the afterlife. One thing that is interesting to note is a lot of Hispanics do not believe in. It can't kind of behind my picture there, so you can't see it. But a lot of Hispanics do not believe in cremation. They believe that destroying this earthly body in such a way that it can actually lead to that loved one either going to hell or a longer time in purgatory. It's a big no-no within the culture. It's a sin to have your body cremated. Next slide. Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. It is the main holiday for celebrating the dead, dead relatives, the dead loved ones within the culture. It's celebrated in Mexico mainly, but it's also observed in other communities. I believe it is also Brazil. They celebrate Dia de los Muertos. It's celebrated between November 1st and the 2nd, and it's just a joyful remembrance of the deceased. It's almost a party. In several places, several families will get together. They'll pictures I put up there. They'll paint their faces. They'll wear brightly colored outfits. They'll decorate what are known as ofrendas, or their altars, with pictures of the loved ones, just food offerings for those loved ones. They believe that on the Day of the Dead, that your loved one can cross from the afterlife back into our physical plane in the form of a spirit, and that they can partake in that day as well. And that's why all those offerings are there. In a way, they believe that the spiritual form of your loved one can take those offerings with them. And it's just a great day of remembering that loved one, sharing stories, celebrating the lives that they've had, and that respect for the continuation of our lives into death and beyond. Just a great, great holiday. It's a lot of fun to celebrate. Um, and Hispanic culture in the media, and this ties in really well with Dia de los Muertos. Coco, Disney Pixar's Coco, which was released in 2017. It follows a young boy, Miguel Rivera, who he's an aspiring musician, but throughout the course of the movie, he actually ends up going into the spoiler alert, ends up going to the land of the dead himself, going into the afterlife and meeting up with some of his relatives who've passed on. And it's just kind of a fun movie that celebrates Dia de los Muertos and kind of ties in that remembrance of the family and their views on how, the family always is with us, even though we can't see them. They're always with us in our hearts. They're always going to be part of our lives, and remembering them and honoring them is just a huge part of their culture. It has some prominent historical Hispanic figures in there like Frida Kahlo. Just a great movie. One of my family's favorites. We've watched it probably 100,000 times. So if you have not seen Disney's Coco, highly recommend it. So put a few little honorable mentions in here. So you can read through those if you'd like. The novena and the anniversary masses, they're just prayers and consecutive days of prayers that commemorate anniversaries or of the dying loved ones or past loved ones, as well as visiting cemeteries. It's kind of something that we all do. No matter what culture we're part of, we'll go and we'll visit our family's grave sites. But they'll leave flowers, candles, personal items. They just maintaining that bond with our deceased loved ones is so important in that culture and any culture really. So that's my video. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email or talk to me through the class. I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can. So thank you. These are the resources that I used. If you want to site check me,